Okay, it is 6 p.m. I will call the county board meeting September 8th to order. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Looking at the roll call, it appeared to me that all board members are present with the exception of Chuck Hull, Supervisor Hull. Move to approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Any further discussion? We will have to call vote.
Supervisor Michelson,
Yes.
Supervisor Shipman,
Aye.
Supervisor Gravina,
Aye.
Supervisor Eisenhuth,
Aye.
Supervisor Ives,
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt,
Aye.
Supervisor Darrow,
Aye.
Supervisor Steele,
Aye.
Supervisor Sikorsky,
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt,
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman,
Aye.
Supervisor Thornton,
Aye.
Supervisor Hauser,
Aye.
Supervisor Gullickson.
Aye. Okay. Agenda passes. We'll move members of the public wishing to be heard. And so we will have 5 minutes. So on my list, the first name I have is Bill Seacraw. Bill, are you there?
Yes. Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you fine. So go ahead, you can start now.
Okay. Okay, I want to address resolution number 3120 to increase board size from 15 to 21, and I want to speak about modernization of Chippewa County. Start out, I thank the board for your service as I sat in your same seats 20 years ago, but now enjoy spending winter months in Florida. When I retired, we had 29 members of leadership, being a chair and 2 vice chairs. One vice chair chaired the finance committee, and the other one chaired the personnel committee, which I chaired. You have a tough job trying to balance the wants of taxpayers and also to pay employees an equitable salary to keep and retain good employees. I know this firsthand as the chair of the personnel committee, offering a job to someone only to be rejected as pay was not adequate. I served on the board from 1988 to 2000. I also served on the Tilden Town Clerk for 20 years. I have spent a lot of time in committees modernizing Chippewa County, like data processing, land records modernization, register of deeds, imaging, and GIS, as I was the only board member to have a computer background. My early years, I helped build the predecessors to the Cray computers. I have spent 35 years in the computer field, retiring from CBTC in 1999 as a computer programmer analyst, spending half of my career in private and the other half in public employment. It is great to observe the updates and the current efforts of the current IT director collaborating with other private and government agencies. This collaboration did not seem to go well in the past, and I remember trying to build a new jail to serve 3 counties of Chippewa, Dunn, and Eau Claire. Law enforcement did not seem to want to give up their turf. Also, could not the court systems of 3 counties be combined, as I am aware of citizens of Chippewa County being tried in neighboring counties? Also, why can't the court system be updated to display all the documents presented to the court, as I am familiar with in the county I spend the winter in Florida? Could it be that citizens could be better informed and less need for attorneys? Also, why can't court proceedings be videotaped and have the tape available to jurors to review proceedings before they arrive at a decision? And the following are my notes from 2010, which I did at the time, and I was found them. Okay. The function of the board is to set policy and let the administration of the county administrator and department heads. But the hiring of a full-time administrator, much of the administrative recommendations should be eliminated. Manatee County in Florida, where I spend my winter months, has only 7 board members for a population of 318,361, or 1 board member for a population of 45,000. While Chippewa County has 29 members for a population of 60,000 and 1 board member for 2,090 citizens. Manatee County has a budget of $469 million, or one board member for a budget of $67 million. Chippewa County has a budget of $62 million, or 1 board member for a budget of $2,169,000. The major percent of the county budget is in personnel salaries. There's not much the board can do as the salaries are subject to arbitration, and a 29-0 vote will not overrun the arbitrator's ruling. You also have to pay professionals a comparable rate, as they will not come to work for the county. Only this last year has the administrator taken a good look at reorganizing the county and make personnel reorganizations. With the advent of the internet and posting of committee meetings online, citizens can have a better understanding of county government and can make their input. A review of the minutes of the committee meetings show little input by many members. Less members should make members' input more valuable and hopefully get more well-qualified members running for the board. The county board has little influence on the activities of elected constitutional officers such as the sheriff, the county clerk, the county treasurer, register of deeds, clerk of court, district attorney, and coroner. The county board has little influence on the many programs that are state mandated. The county board usually has to operate within mandated levy limits increases anyway. Now my recap. If you have a choice to hook up 100 rabbits or 3 horses to a plow to get the work done, as you would have the same horsepower, which would you choose? Do you really need that many board members to attend committee meetings? And do you really need that many committees? Usually what happens is someone has a cause and feels the need to have a board member on the committee and convinces the board to appoint. Do you really need a board member and a judge on a firearms range committee? It seems 12 members on a jury can render a just decision. Could you do your job smarter by embracing remote meetings like the current virus has imposed on us? I, along with the leadership of the retired board members, brought forward a referendum to reduce the board size from 29 to 15. At the time, we were contemplating even reducing the size from 9 to 7. I believe we, the people, voted by over a 70% margin for this to happen. That's my conclusion. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Seacrow.
Any questions?
No questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Up next is Carolyn Kaiser.
Good evening. I would just like to say that I submitted a document to all the county board members this afternoon, and I hope that you all received it by email. And if there was a glitch in anything, to please let me know. And I can send one to Tracy, so there would be one at the office. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard that we don't know of at this time? Okay. We will move on to the consent agenda. Unless separation of an item is requested, all items will be adopted under one motion. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second by Hunt, Supervisor Hunt.
Mr. Chair, motion to separate.
Okay. Which one?
The Gullickson rezone, I have a legal question before I think we vote on that.
Okay. I don't know if we need to, they separate them, do we vote on? Yeah, okay. Is there a second to the Supervisor Thornton's motion?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Then we will be splitting out the Gullickson rezone from the rest of the consent agenda. So you got to vote on the first motion. Okay. Vote on the Thornton's motion first. Separation out. So it's been made and seconded. We'll have to do a roll call vote.
Supervisor Thornton,
Yes.
Supervisor Hauser,
Yes.
Supervisor Gullickson,
No.
Supervisor Michelson,
Yes.
Supervisor Shipman,
No.
Supervisor Curvina,
Yes.
Supervisor Eisenhuth, Supervisor Ives,
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt,
Aye.
Supervisor Hull,
Aye.
Supervisor Darrow,
No.
Supervisor Steele,
No.
Supervisor Sikorsky,
No.
Supervisor Schmidt,
Yes.
Supervisor McMiniman.
No.
The tally?
8 yes, 7 no.
Okay. 8-7, motion passes. Okay, we will then take up reading this A007-20, 2020-0016, Malcolm Gullickson rezone, Town of Wheaton. Mr. Thornton?
I have a legal question for Mr. Poles. Mr. Poles, I reviewed that this morning, and the application for the rezone is not signed by the owner of the property. I then contacted the director of the zoning administration, and he says that he doesn't have anything on file from the owner of the property or anyone else acting as representative of the owner of the property. Can we approve a rezone for a parcel of land without the property owner written request, number one? Number two, somebody saying that they represent him, filling out an application for a rezone?
Off the top of my head, I don't know that answer.
That was my question.
Supervisor, I don't
Yeah.
know about it before the meeting. I would have had it up and given you the answer. Without looking at the ordinances, I don't know. I don't know for sure.
Is Doug Clary on?
In the building. Glad he was going to walk.
Yes, I'm.
Oh, you're on, Doug?
Can you address?
Yes, I'm on the phone. Yes, the rezone application was actually submitted by an agent for Malcolm Gullickson. That agent is Peter Gartman with Real Land Surveying. And on the application, Malcolm is listed as a property owner, but the agent is listed as Pete Gartman, and the application was signed by Pete Gartman. Now, when we had the meeting prior to the application, I had conversations with Malcolm Gullickson, and then even at our public hearing in front of the village, or excuse me, in front of the Planning and Zoning Committee, Malcolm and a representative from Real Land Surveying was on the phone to talk about the rezone petition. Included in that was Malcolm and the agent were at the Plan Commission and the Town Board in the Town of Wheaton to review that request with the Town of Wheaton. So the application itself has a statement in there that we want a property owner to sign, or in a situation when the property owner is looking to sell the property, that we would be looking for a statement from that buyer. In this situation, it kind of fits into that a whole where, once again, the property owner has hired a firm, a contractor, to come in and work the rezone and the site plan process through the county as a whole. So in my respect, if I didn't have contact with Malcolm Gullickson, I would have definitely made contact with him to verify whether or not he knows that someone's coming in to apply for a rezone on his property. But once again, because of the previous conversations, the meetings that have already occurred on it, it was just one of those things where I didn't think I needed anything from the property owner to state that this was going to be, that he was allowing Pete Gartman to act as his agent.
Okay. Mr. Corporate Counsel, hearing that, does that make a decision easier on that?
I can't
Okay.
independently verify from the ordinances whether or not we can do that. But I don't have them in front of me if you want me to look them up, and it may take some time. I believe that this is a standard practice that the zoning, that Mr. Clary's indicated that zoning uses, and as long as the agent, there's indication that there's an agent for the owner, the agent can sign the application.
Any questions, further questions from the board on this issue? Okay, hearing none. First off,
Chair,
yes, go ahead.
it was said that there was no signature on the application. I'd like to ask Doug, is there the agent's signature on the application?
Did you hear the question, Mr. Clary?
Yes, I did. The application was signed by the agent.
Okay.
Okay.
And the signature line indicates owner/agent.
Well, any other discussion? Mr. Hauser?
Just to verify what Mr. Clary said, we heard Mr. Gullickson on the phone, certainly in favor of that, requesting that, and as well as the agent. So everything that Doug just said is accurate.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, I will be recusing myself because I don't know if this person is a relative, but to remove all doubt, I will recuse myself from this vote. It's at this time, then I would call for the roll call vote. Okay. So we have the motion on the floor to pull it out. And so I guess, do we need to have a motion also to approve?
You need a motion to approve it.
Okay. We'll need a separate motion to approve that portion of the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, the clerk will then call the roll.
Supervisor Darrow.
Aye.
Supervisor Steele.
Aye.
Supervisor Sikorsky.
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman.
Aye.
Supervisor Thornton.
Aye.
Supervisor Hauser.
Aye.
Supervisor Gullickson abstain.
Yep.
Supervisor Michelson.
Aye.
Supervisor Shipman.
Aye.
Supervisor Kervina.
Aye.
Supervisor Eisenhuth.
Aye.
Supervisor Ives.
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt.
Aye.
Supervisor Hull.
Aye.
Okay, that portion of the consent agenda is now approved. And I believe there's already a motion and a second for the rest of the consent agenda that's on the floor. And so I'll ask one last time, any discussion on the remainder of the consent agenda? Hearing none, then I would have the roll call vote.
Supervisor Darrow.
Aye.
Supervisor Steele.
Aye.
Supervisor Sikorsky.
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt.
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman.
Aye.
Supervisor Thornton.
Aye.
Supervisor Hauser.
Aye.
Supervisor Gullickson.
Aye.
Supervisor Michelson.
Aye.
Supervisor Shipman.
Aye.
Supervisor Kervina.
Aye.
Supervisor Eisenhuth.
Aye.
Supervisor Ives.
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt.
Aye.
Supervisor Hull.
Aye.
Passes.
I say a few words about Peter. Introduce him.
Yes, County Administrator.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to thank Supervisor Hunt for going through the interview process with us. It was much appreciated. Peter is here. Johnston, he's a first lieutenant in Wisconsin National Guard. Peter comes to us with experience in helping veterans, especially in the area of education benefits. I think Peter's passion to serve his country and veterans will make him a great addition to our team. So if you could please join me in giving a hand for Peter, he'll come and say a few words.
Hello. Again, my name is Peter Johnston. I'd like to thank you all for letting me come and introduce myself. I'd also like to thank Randy and the interview committee. So a little bit about myself. I originally come from Madison, Wisconsin. I came to know Chippewa Valley by going to UW Stout, and for the past 13 years, I've lived in northwestern Wisconsin. I currently live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin with my wife Megan and our dog Dex. I've worked in veteran services for 4 years. At UW River Falls, like you said, I was a veterans benefits coordinator. I worked with veterans, service members, and their families, helping primarily with education benefits, but also worked in various different aspects of the veteran community. I have been in the Wisconsin National Guard for 10 years now, and Randy said, I am our first lieutenant. I had the great opportunity last week to go down to Kenosha, Wisconsin, to be able to help with the civil unrest mission. I got the opportunity to work along with other National Guardsmen who had to pause their lives to help serve their community that they live in. It was a great opportunity to see those soldiers step up and be able to perform the duties that our primary mission as National Guardsmen is to help out the communities we live in. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to help veterans and their families, and with this new position, be able to help them even in a bigger way. Thank you so much for letting me speak. It's nice, short and sweet.
Welcome. Okay, County Administrator review and update, preliminary review of the fiscal year 21 budget.
Sure is odd. People not be able to shake their hands, isn't it?
Right.
So I started this last year or the year before, and this is just a preliminary review of the budget. First, I'd like to thank all the department heads as we went through the budget process. Obviously, this year has been stranger than most, and I appreciate all the hard work.
Has left the meeting.
We are still waiting for some shared revenue, so I really want to express this is preliminary. Every indication is that shared revenue is going to remain the same. I've been pushing that with WCA. WCA has been pushing that onto the state, and from what everybody's been told, it's going to remain the same for 2021. This does have the 3% across the board increase, the $165,000 that the board approved, a 0 to a 3%. This does have the full 3%. So the first chart you're going to look at is equalized valuation. As you can see, it went up 7.36%. The year before, it went up a little more. It went up $419 million. This year, it went up $441 million the year before. Our tax levy, with what I'm proposing, went up 2.11%, or $412,000. The year before, it went up 2.13%. The year before that, it went up 2.18%. So what that does, because the equalized valuation went up so much and the levy didn't go as much, obviously, as the equalized valuation, what it does is it reduces your tax rate, or most people call it the mill rate. So the proposed budget would go from 3.43 to 3.26, or 17-cent change, which is 4.89%. On a $100,000 home, that's $17. That's normally how we look at it for easy numbers. It would save $17 if your house wasn't reassessed with the county tax rate. So the next table, this looks at, the next table looks at levy limits, what we're allowed to have. The previous year, we had $169,000 left. This year, with this levy, we have $180 left. So you can see the difference from the two previous years. And then this one, the next table, really is where the meat of everything is. I think it's the simplest way to break down a budget. It allows you to look at previous levy, the current levy proposed, and then the change. And I normally just go through and hit the highlights, the bigger numbers. Most of it is PCR preliminary cost report. Those were the ones I won't hit, but if you have questions on any of them, please let me know. But the ADRC, the first two, and DHS, you can see their tax rate just flip-flopped, their mill rate, or their levy rate, or their levy total. And really what that had to do is they just switched where individuals are being, where they were working out of. They went from ADRC to DHS. And that was collaboration between those two departments, or really it's one department, but to make their operations better. CJS, which is CJCC on there, but it'll be CJS. You can see the increase. That had to do with someone taking a change in health insurance. which you can tell can make a big difference, and a parcel grant going away. So that's the increase. If you look down on child support, I said there was two reasons for this one. The feds decided to change how we can get reimbursed on some of our funds, and they had, I believe, someone going from no health insurance to a full health insurance. And you can see in those little budgets with levy, you can see how much that impacts their percentage. You see that change. If you look at UW Extension, there's a position freeze put on by UW Extension currently, and there's an open position in there. So I didn't recommend funding that moving forward. We did have several conversations, obviously, with UW, and I'm willing to look at that if anything changes. Obviously, with the state budget moving forward in 2022, 2023, we're not sure how that's gonna change, but I'm more than willing to look at that. Information technology, I went into this budget being very clear that we need an IT position. We weren't able to get a full position with everything we did, but that's why that increased. And we put that into contracted services. Obviously with COVID, I mean, they were overwhelmed. They were overwhelmed before COVID. And there's this more and more need for the technology. One of the goals or some of the conversations I've had since I've been here is trying to get cameras on for the sheriff's department. And right now with the current staffing of the IT, it would be pretty much impossible to do that. So we put money in contracted services. They can use that for contracted services if this stays in there to either do a project, or they could even use it for an LTE or a part-time position for next year. But the goal is in 2022 to add to that so we have a full-time position in there. I just want to make everybody crystal clear that that was the goal, and that's what we tried working towards. Register of deeds, you'll see, this COVID has affected different departments different ways. Their revenues are actually up, so that's actually a good thing. The 29,436 is the increased revenue, so that offsets our levy. So that's strictly revenue. The treasurer, as you will hear in a minute from our bond rating, we got great rates, but what that does is it kills our interest on the money we currently have vested. So we reduced that quite a bit. Veterans, there was an open position, an LTE position that was vacated. I believe the individual actually took a position somewhere else in the county, and I recommend not filling that position. Let's see. Facilities other, that's really about the tower project. That's been going on since, I want to say 2014 or 15. They're actually building that currently, but that will increase the cost for maintenance and other expenses for the full project. I see the budget adjustment. That's lower because of pay for performance, which was in the budget this time was less. There was no market study. We also had money in there for WPPA because the negotiation wasn't completed at the time, so we had some extra money in there that obviously we didn't need in there anymore. So that's kind of the numbers by department. Do you have any question on any of those? Go ahead.
Land conservation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually had that highlighted too. Land conservation is really stumpage. They've taken the wood world has taken a big hit, so we reduced the stumpage estimate by basically that amount. Okay. Sorry, I actually had that highlighted. Okay, and then if you go to the next page, this is just a summary of the new positions. You guys are well familiar with all these. The care position for the ADRC, dementia care, that came through the budget. It says grant funded position. Technically it is, but it was through general obligation, which typically when I hear words like that, that means it's continuing funding. It's not one of those grants that's going to go away anytime soon. Community health epidemiologist, we just talked about that, that position moving forward. Obviously, they reduced the position for 2021 in order to make that a full-time position. That just was in front of the county board. Then the social worker CPS, that's the CANS position that we've talked a lot about, and that will be on the agenda later. And then the IT, again, this is what I just got done talking about, trying to increase contracted services. And then the two positions that the frozen position, UW Extension, and then the veterans position. So again, I just want to express that this is preliminary because we do not have our numbers in yet for the state, but hopefully we do October-ish is normal, or September, October is when we normally get those. Is there any questions?
Board members, any questions? Chuck, Mr. Hall, did you raise your hand or were you just, oh, okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we have no department reports. We'll go to general reports. At this time, Supervisor Ives, we understand that you've been a very busy person and completed some courses and stuff here. And so I'm going to turn it over to the clerk to present you with something.
So last fall, Supervisor Ives was accepted into the Wisconsin Local Government Leadership Academy through UW Extension, and that was an 8-month program for 2020. She also received a scholarship to complete that program. Unfortunately, due to COVID, the program's graduation recognition ceremony was canceled as it was to be held at the WCA annual conference later this month. The program is to help enhance Supervisor Ives' leadership skills and provided her with additional tools and resources to address issues that affect Chippewa County. Please join me in congratulating Supervisor Ives on successfully completing the program.
Thank you, Carrie. Okay, moving on to business items. Resolution 3020, resolution awarding sale of 3 million general obligation promissory notes. Mr. Schultz.
We need a motion.
We can make the motion to approve at this time.
Motion approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I got Brad Vigut from Baird on the line, but just a refresher, the county board voted on this on a 3/4 vote earlier in the year. I believe it was around June. The money, the $3 million is going to, all of it's going to highway. 2021, $1.7 million is going to highway for bridges and roads. 2022, $1.3 million is going. I believe there's some bridge in there too, but mostly roads. And that was approved under the CIP plan. So Brad, would you be able to go through your presentation?
Yeah, I would. Thanks, Randy. So this is the final step in issuing the notes on these county projects. And as was mentioned, this was a process that really behind the scenes, the planning had started quite some time ago. First time this came before the executive committee and the county board was back in June, and we've been providing periodic updates along the way. So some really good news today is rates have dropped significantly since we started planning for this earlier this year. And with your action today, if this resolution is approved, the interest rate on this $3 million note issue is going to be locked in at 0.92%. So that's a fixed rate for the entire repayment period, which goes out to February of 2029. Obviously, just a phenomenally low interest rate, great opportunity for the county to get some projects done at very low cost for financing. I've updated the long-term financing plan, and I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Whenever we're developing financing plans, the county never looks at just one borrowing in isolation. Take into consideration the existing obligations that the county has and potential future obligations. So any potential borrowings in the future will come back to the board for authorization, but for planning purposes, we've penciled them in. What we've developed is a financing plan that will level the county's debt budget, payments for debt service at $1.8 million moving forward. So there's not an anticipated need for additional upward steps. Now, of course, if the financing needs of the county increase moving forward, then we would need to modify this plan. Some other really good news coming out of this is that Moody's, which is a bond rating agency, affirmed the AA1 bond rating of the county. That's the second highest rating. AAA is the highest. AA1 is the second highest rating that Moody's assigns. It really puts the county in some elite company with very high quality issuers nationwide. I attached the complete rating report for everyone's records and your information. Just a couple of highlights. Moody's pointed out that the county has very strong financial position, has healthy reserves, healthy liquidity, and only a modest debt burden. So some very positive things from Moody's. Overall, the notes were really well received. There was strong demand in the market this morning when these notes were sold to investors. We are also pricing into a very strong bond market. Today we saw interest rates drop from even where they were last week. In fact, when we had gone out initially with these bonds, it looked like we were going to be locked in at about 0.96. We had such strong demand from investors that we're able to lower the interest rates because of that strong demand. So what you're authorizing tonight, this resolution, will lock in your interest rate at 0.92%. So I'd be glad to go into additional detail if anyone likes, or I can answer questions.
I think, Chair, I'd just add one thing.
Yes.
That's okay. As Brad was talking about that 1.8 million, the reason that's critical or trying to keep that at least balanced is if that reduces, let's say that went to 1.6, we'd have to cut our overall levy by 200,000. We'd have to cut our operation levy. So the 1.8 allows us to plan moving forward at that same dollar amount.
So
Okay.
what will the payment be for 2022?
Brad, can you read that? I can't read that from here.
So 1.8?
Yeah. Yeah, the total debt payment is going to be approximately $1.8 million. The debt payment for just the issue you're issuing tonight is scheduled to be $858,000.
So for 2022, our payment will increase roughly $750,000.
No, not quite. This year, you've budgeted for 2020. You've budgeted approximately $1.7 million for debt payment. For next year's budget, 2021, that's going to increase by $100,000 to $1.8 million, and then it remains level at $1.8 million all the way through 2033.
The number way on the right, Tom, the blue, that's our structure.
What's the number on the left-hand side?
The far left-hand side is debt that the county has already incurred. It's already obligated to. It's already issued.
I don't have this.
It's in your, if you refresh your packet, it should be in there, right?
Yeah, we just
I
attached
have a
it.
blank page when I try to bring this up.
Oh, not downloading right?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the rest of the board? We need to read it by title
We did
already. Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
One more question, Randy. Did you get the sales tax revenue for June?
Yeah. I sent that to you. You didn't get that, Tom? Oh, sorry. Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't have it on me. Did you bring that?
You sent it to me?
Yeah, I sent it to you.
It was a reduction of about 20%, wasn't it? But we know from WCA that we expected it.
Yeah, so the numbers were really high for the month before. They're about, I'm not gonna have the exact numbers because I don't have it in front of me, but 24, 25%. They were up the month before. The next month they went down about the same percentage. But I'm on those weekly conversations with WCA. They told us that was gonna happen because it's part of the reporting. The dates when the reports hit is why they said there was gonna be such a big flux. Because everybody is very excited that we're up 25% that month. And WCA said, just hold on, that because of the way the reporting periods are, you're going to see that reduction. Hopefully they average out to about the same, and they did. And I believe, looking at, if I remember the report, we're still ahead slightly from the previous year, about 0.4%. Is that right? So sales tax has done well. And remember, we're 2 years ahead, so we don't utilize our funds that we're collecting this year for 2 years. So we're able, if there is an issue or concern, we can definitely adjust that.
Because going back to Melissa's last report last month, I believe it was last month, January and February were up. March and April were down. May was back up again. And they kind of, you're right, they kind of offset each other. But now in June, we're down to approximately 20% again.
No, well, we are, but that's because the month before we were so high. Again, it's because of the reporting period. Like, I don't know if they do it every other week and you have, you don't have the same amount of weeks. It's like your paycheck. You get 3 paychecks in 2 months. I think it's that same scenario. So the month before was way up. We were up like 25%. And WCA warned all us administrators that were on there because we thought, hey, because a lot of the counties use that for budgeting for this year. They're like, hey, we're going to be way ahead. And they said, no, just wait till your next month because, right, you're going to end up if you end up about even between those 2 months, you're probably doing well. So I can't remember the exact, you got it? Yeah, so for, well, we got it for July and August. It's a month. They are months behind, as you guys know. But for July, we were up 22.1%. And then for August, we were down 20.5%. The total, we're 0.4% ahead of what we were last year.
You already have the numbers for August?
Well, they're saying they're August, but you're always a couple months behind. You'll get the numbers in August, but they're probably for July.
No, they're for June.
June, they're 2 months behind, so they're for June. Yeah,
The latest number you'll have is June.
Yeah, but it comes as our August numbers. Yeah, that's how it looks in the report.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, we will call the roll call vote.
Supervisor Hunt?
Aye.
Supervisor Hull?
Aye.
Supervisor Darrow?
No.
Supervisor Steele?
Aye.
Supervisor Sikorsky?
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman?
Aye.
Supervisor Thornton?
No.
Supervisor Hauser?
Aye.
Supervisor Gullickson?
Aye.
Supervisor Michelson?
Aye.
Supervisor Shipman?
Aye.
Supervisor Kervina?
Aye.
Supervisor Eisenhuth?
Aye.
Supervisor Ives?
Aye.
13-2.
Okay. 13-2, resolution passes. Okay. Business item 31-20, resolution directing and authorizing Chippewa County staff to prepare a tentative supervisory district
Brad Vigoot
has left the meeting.
on a tentative Chippewa County Board of Supervisor size consisting of 21 county board supervisors. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Made by Hull, seconded by Ives. Any further discussion? Okay, Mr.
Yeah, so this has kind of been a hot topic. I've been here since I've been here. And it's come up a couple times, I think, even since the new boards come on. So we put a survey out to the county board just to see what number, so the executive committee had something to look at. We presented that survey to the executive committee. Executive committee decided on a number of 21. But remember, this does not set the county board at 21. This is really for staff, and I'll have Doug come in and explain that part of it in order for them to actually try and put some maps together during this process. Go ahead, Doug.
As Randy said, when we start looking at that census, we get a total for the county, and then we go to the maps and start drawing those boundary lines based on that population. It's easy math. You take the population from the census divided by the number of supervisory districts, and we start putting lines on the map to figure out where those supervisory districts are going to represent. What we will have as an issue is knowing what that number is in order to start drawing up those maps, because each one of those maps is going to take some time to develop. Now, this year, the state of Wisconsin has developed a computer program that we'll be able to use, but it is one of those things that you have to get in there and start learning how to use it. Anything that I do right now within that system will be wiped clean, so anything I do to learn it right now is based on the 2010 data. So there was a lot of conversation in the past about the supervisory districts and trying to make them more centralized instead of elongated. I was here for that last process, and it was a battle because of the number that we were stuck at with 15 members. There's only one way to slice a pie. Or actually, in this situation, there was two ways, and either way was not, individuals had issues with it. But when we're dealing with numbers and you divide, you come up with a population that people, that supervisory districts are going to serve. And by giving us an idea where the county board may want to land, gives me the ability to focus on maybe 2 or 3 different plans versus 5 or 6 or 7. So the number is important on my end in order to save some staff time to create those supervisory districts, get those out to the towns, the cities, and the villages, make their maps gel with our maps, and then produce that final plan for the county supervisory districts.
Thanks.
I also wanted to add that the committee had us look at some costs, and then just looking at the number of, if we broke it down by 21, how many less meetings that would be per member. So we put that in your packet. So we budgeted the amount for mileage, very difficult to do. We talked to Jackie quite a bit about that. We left that out because it's just a hard number to come up to, but the next 2 numbers we definitely know are pretty set numbers. Then that is per diems for the county board meeting is about $29.40, and then the salary for adding the additional supervisors would be about $5,000. And then roll call pro, there's only the voting mechanisms that we have available to us. Jackie, you want to talk on that a little bit? She's been trying to figure that out a little more.
So for your new supervisors, we aren't currently using Roll Call Pro until everyone is in the room. We can't go back to using our roll call system and our voting system. But if we increase the county board size, we cannot get any more of the physical remotes. We have 15. I think we maybe have an extra one. So if we add people, we'll have to switch either the system that we're using or switch to where you could download that app to use the same system, but it would be on your iPad, or we could use a system that's tied into with our minutes and agendas that you use now. So at some point, there'll have to be a change in systems, most likely.
Regardless if we went bigger or not, correct?
At some point, probably, yes.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Did you upgrade the remote since I was on the board last?
We believe they're the same. The problem is we had 29 of them, yes, but nobody knows what happened to the other 14. I asked the company if we had sent them back. Unfortunately, roll call systems, they have not worked physically in their office for 5.5 months, so they're not sure if they're there. I cannot find them anywhere in this building, so I do not know what happened to them.
Are we going to have a room big enough to have 21 people in?
Well, if we don't have to social distance, for sure.
Well, okay.
I know some of the talk has been about moving this wall back. I know that's been previous conversations that we've heard. So yeah, we definitely have to look at that or figure that out. I'm not sure where you guys met when it was 29. It must
Right here. Right here.
Oh, right here? Oh.
Yes, sir.
So I guess it would work. And then just continuing looking at the cost, obviously we need more iPads. These are kind of one-time cost, about $400 for all that, and then continuous yearly cost with everything, including the Verizon connection, mobile device management, licensing, and then obviously the cost from above it's about $8,500 a year, plus mileage, which we couldn't really determine. Then we did a really simple calculation on the bottom. We just took, there's been 15 members. We took the last year, 2020, how many meetings there were, 634, and then divided that by 21. Again, as you guys are well aware, not every committee member gets the exact same amount of meetings, so that can obviously vary, but we had to come up with an average somehow. So that would be if everybody had the equal amount of meetings with 15 or 21. You can see the difference. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Hearing none, then I will call the vote. Be roll call.
Supervisor Hull?
Do we make a motion?
Yep.
Yep. Mission made right off the get-go.
Motion to amend.
Okay. We have a motion to amend, and that motion.
To amend to 19 board members.
Is there a second to the motion? Is there a second to the motion? Hearing none, motion fails due to lack of second. Back to original motion. We'll call the roll.
Supervisor Hull?
Aye.
Supervisor Darrow?
No.
Supervisor Steele?
Aye.
Supervisor Sikorsky?
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman?
Aye.
Supervisor Thornton?
No.
Supervisor Hauser?
Aye.
Supervisor Gullickson?
Aye.
Supervisor Michelson?
No.
Supervisor Shipman?
Aye.
Supervisor Kervina?
No.
Supervisor Eisenhuth?
Aye.
Supervisor Ives?
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt?
Aye.
Eleven yes. Motion carries. Oops. Item number 3, 3220 resolution to authorize the county to enter a boundary line agreement with the current owners of lot 97, 98, and 99 of the Lake Wissota Beach plat to resolve latent ambiguities in the location of the lot line between lot 99 and lot E of Lake Wissota Beach plat. Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Oh,
I'll take Doug then. Yep.
Chippewa County took title to a piece of land out on County Highway X in Small Lake, Wissota. It was labeled as Lot E of this Lake Wissota Beach plat. That was in 94, 95 timeframe. Since that time, as our GIS system improves, believe it or not, some of those old plats, the measurements are not coming out the way that they should be. On land, in this situation, what ends up happening is that it's on the north side of Small Lake Wissota, and when you take up all the measurements that are on the road and the measurements that are on the water, the plat actually skews. But when you look at the plat, it's not skewed. So best management practices for GIS is to take a look at that and make the best judgment that cartographer, or in this case, Dennis Falkenberg, to figure out which way to swing that plat out there on the property. What ended up happening is that because of the lines being skewed, they go through property, through houses, or cut corners of houses off. In this particular situation, the property owners prior to Chippewa County obtaining Lot E had built a boathouse on the property. It turns out that is partially either on Lot 99 and Lot E or completely on Lot E. In order to straighten out these property lines with 4 of the property owners, we suggested coming to a common boundary between what we're calling Lot 99 and and Lot E that the county owns. What this will do is it'll still give the property owner the boathouse totally on their property. We went to the highway committee with a proposal for a 2-foot and a 10-foot setback. And they looked at it and said, how about if we go with a 5-foot setback for that line from that boathouse? So it goes from a known corner all the way down to Lake Wissota, and it's 5 feet off of that boathouse, which will still give them the ability to maintain it. Now, once again, the issue is that this was bought for a project out on County Highway X, and that line was never established back in the 90s when the county went in and bought it. I could probably guarantee you that if anybody was out there, the property owner would have said, yep, here's where my property line is without the survey, and we all probably know that that's not the best thing to do. So this would allow the county to step into the process, establish a boundary line on the east side of that boathouse, and then continue that on to the west for 3 or 4 of those properties and get their property lines reestablished where they should be. If you go out on site, there's 2 different, when you have property, there's 2 different things you take a look at. One is the actual deed that says, here's where my property is. And then you go out on site and you look at the occupation. And in some situations, paper and occupation do not match. That is what we're trying to do here, is trying to set a boundary so that the other property owners can have those property lines established where they are occupying today. This helps us out. It helps out those property owners by making sure that they're not getting caught in the 11th hour when they're trying to sell their property. Because when they look at our mapping, there's questions that are being asked, like, my lot line does not go through the middle of the house. It goes right here where my fence is. And we're like, well, occupation versus paper. And that's really what we show in our mapping, is not the occupation. We actually show that paper deed. This will help us out. It'll help out those property owners in getting part of this plat situated and stabilized in an area so that we can start moving along down the to the west and around the corners and stuff. Most of the time, these things work out with the property owners, and I'm hoping that Chippewa County can take a look at this and just see that there was issues out here, and let's just get this line established so that they are quick claiming any interest to us to the east of that line, and we would quick claim any interest to them to the west side of that line.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then we'd call the roll call vote.
Supervisor Shipman?
Aye.
Supervisor Kervina?
Aye.
Supervisor Eisenhuth? Supervisor Ives?
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt?
Aye.
Supervisor Hull?
Aye.
Supervisor Darrow?
Aye.
Supervisor Steele?
Aye.
Supervisor Sikorsky?
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman?
Aye.
Supervisor Thornton?
Aye.
Supervisor Hauser?
Aye.
Supervisor Gullickson?
Aye.
Supervisor Michelson?
Aye.
15.
15 yes, resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Number 4, 33-20, resolution to create a full-time child protective service social worker position in the Department of Human Services. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion's made, seconded by Supervisor Steele. Any further discussion?
I have Tim Easker, our DHS director, to give you some information.
Good evening, everybody. As you may recall, this process was started a year ago in July when a resolution was passed allowing us to withdraw from the CANS partnership. The CANS partnership was our single point of entry for Child Protective Services cases. It's a partnership with Taylor, Pepin, and Monroe counties. The reason why we're getting out is because we're putting in one FTE, one full-time staff, plus we were paying an additional $92,000. So it was like we were paying for 2 FTE. We only need 1.5 to actually do access. So when we brought this forward, the plan was to, with some of the additional money, was to put a supervisor in place. Because the other quandary we're in right now is Carrie Kerber supervising. She's a 1-to-15 ratio. 2 of those are birth to 3 staff. The other are CPS staff. Best practice, WICSA case standards shows we should have for Child Protective Services 5 staff to 1 supervisor. Some of the things we're seeing that have been going on around the county, and some of the more
has left the meeting.
Wisconsin's rather unique in that we're a county-run system. There's some other state-run systems. There's been lawsuits brought forward. And some of the issues that have been identified are too large of caseloads for caseworkers and too large of a worker to supervisor ratio.
One Kaiser.
So
Has left the meeting.
So what we're trying to do on this is bring that a little bit more in line without having the supervisor. So we want to take our lead worker right now, who is 0.5 lead worker and a 0.5 initial assessment worker, and make her a full-time lead worker so she can take some of these administrative tasks off to Carrie's plate. Carrie's an incredible supervisor that we have here. We got a real gem for a child protective services manager, and we want to keep her here. She's put in a lot of extra hours, so we kind of want to do what we can to take some of the heat off of her as well. And I believe that is all I have. So this fulfills our statutory requirement that we provide a access and intake for child protective services. Any additional questions?
Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you. And we will call the roll call vote.
Supervisor Thornton?
Yes.
Supervisor Hauser?
Yes.
Supervisor Gullickson?
Yes.
Supervisor Michelson?
Aye.
Supervisor Shipman?
Abstain.
Supervisor Kervina?
Aye.
Supervisor Eisenhuth? Supervisor Ives?
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt?
Aye.
Supervisor Hull?
Aye.
Supervisor Darrow?
Aye.
Supervisor Steele?
Aye.
Supervisor Sikorsky?
Aye.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman?
Aye.
14, yes.
Okay, 14 yes, resolution passes.
Thanks much, everybody.
Number 51020, the first reading, ordinance to amend section 5834 of the Chippewa County Code of Ordinances.
I got Brian Kelly, our highway commissioner, to explain this.
Okay.
Good evening. I just was going to have Tracy bring up the map here. It kind of shows what we have out there. Basically, it's already a no parking zone that's signed, and about 2/3 of the way down where the red starts going down towards the lake, there's some guardrail, and that's where the signs end right now, about 10 feet short of the guardrail. What happened was cars are starting to go behind the guardrail, between the sign and the guardrail, and drive all the way down to the river. And then they need to back out of there and get turned around. It's just not a good situation. The sheriff's department deputy saw it happening and contacted me to see if he could enforce no parking there. And when we dug into it a little more, we realized there wasn't even an ordinance for no parking to begin with. So this is just kind of cleaning up the ordinance and then making it so that they can't sneak in that last 10-foot opening. We'll extend the signage all the way down to the channel there where it ends.
Any questions?
What is that building right there in the middle? Yeah.
That's the edge.
Oh, the edge. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Is it blue where they're parking now, or is it a red?
Yeah, that's kind of the entrance to their parking lot, and we're just kind of, we started it where the signs start now, so that 200 feet from 95th Avenue, from there to the south is where.
Bolt slips for the edge. Both pontoon slips, the blue there with the.
Right, I was looking at the line on the road there.
On S.
The sign's gonna go.
They'll start at the red, so they already actually do start at the red. So we just measured how far that was from the intersection, and then we just extended it so they wouldn't have that last opening to get in between the guardrail.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you. All right. Communications, I have none. Agenda items for future consideration.
Could I have one minute under communications, sir?
Uh,
I just want to thank everybody for the very nice plant for my mother's funeral. Thank you very much. And your thoughts and prayers are greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any agendas for future items for future consideration? If you find something in the meantime, be sure to give me a call so we can get it put on there. Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Made, second. Okay, Supervisor Steele. Okay. I guess we have roll call.
Bill?
Has left the meeting.
Supervisor Schmidt?
Aye.
Supervisor McMiniman?
Aye.
Supervisor Thornton?
Aye.
Supervisor Hauser?
Aye.
Supervisor Gullickson?
Aye.
Supervisor Michelson?
Aye.
Supervisor Shipman?
Aye.
Supervisor Kervina? Supervisor Eisenhuth? Supervisor Ives?
Aye.
Supervisor Hunt?
Aye.
Supervisor Hull? Supervisor Darrow? Supervisor Steele? Supervisor Sikorsky?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.